there, I'm board certified professional organizer Kathi Burns. I'm really glad you're here. This podcast is designed for busy entrepreneurs just like you who want to take better control of your business and move forward with less stress and more success. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Organized and Energized podcast is produced for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at thepodcast.organizedandenergize.com. Come back often and feel free to add this podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter at Organized Energy and Facebook. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get into the show.
Hi, everyone. I'm back and I am with Norman Farrar. He is a serial entrepreneur who provides online marketing and managed e-commerce solutions for brands. He's worked with several Fortune 500 companies, including Mercedes-Benz, Coca-Cola, 20th Century Fox. Since the 90s, Norman has focused on helping entrepreneurs optimize their business potential. Got that together kind of a little bit. Hi, Norm. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic. It's so happy to have you on the show. We go back many, many years.
Yes.
And I know people really wanted to find out, like, what's behind this beard guy? What's he up to?
Right now, a dog.
Oh, yeah, a dog in the snow.
Yeah, he's going to be let out. There he is. I believe he's gone. So,
All right.
yeah. So what's behind the beard guy? Probably beard and more beard. But you know what? This has been a crazy ride since the 90s. Like if I go back to what it was like to run a business back in the 90s, and I remember I was working with Mercedes-Benz. I was a contractor doing some film for them. I got kicked off a movie set because I was not wearing a suit. I was a camera assistant then, because I was not wearing a suit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's how I used to do a lot of promotions with this large telco, and huge promotion all over the U.S. and Canada. And the VP of sales, who I knew very well, came in. I walked over. I thought I was being very risque, coming in with a suit jacket and a black mock neck turtleneck, right?
Woohoo!
I was told, he waved me over and he said, Norm, what are you doing? And I said, what? He goes, where's your suit and tie? I had a suit jacket on. He said, if you ever come in here again, I'll make sure that your next contract will never be seen.
Wow, and this was in the 90s?
This was in the 90s. Yep.
Wow. And now we have California casual throughout the whole world.
Absolutely. And pajama pants.
Lots and lots of pajamas. Yeah. Oh my God. That's so funny. So before you became a serial entrepreneur, or were you at that point, you were your own company where you were doing video?
Yeah. So this goes right into high school. We were always dabbling in something. So, from a rock promotion to which, I never got off the ground, but we were a group of four. We tried to do a rock promotion company. It never did anything, but it gave us some experience incorporating a company, in your teens and just moving forward. In college, trying to pay my way through a video company that opened up with a friend. And then just always I pretty much always worked for myself, except for a very short period of time when I went back to work with my dad, and who is a crazy serial entrepreneur. And also I went into the military. I was in the reserve in Canada for a year or so. So anyways, other than that, I've always worked for myself.
Awesome. So now your company focuses on helping other entrepreneurs. Tell us specifically what you do for people at this part in your life.
Oh, this is going to drive some people crazy with this. There's no short Reader's Digest. Something I've learned a long time ago, back to the 90s, again, back to that telecommunications company, like we were servicing all these companies, but I learned about vertical integration and I learned about perceived value. So everything I touch going forward is about vertical integration. How can you control the market? How can you control your own destiny? So with this, I went into Amazon, trying to learn Amazon, trying to understand it, and then how could I become an expert in a short period of time and deliver that to other people? So the best way to do it without using my own capital was to go out and start managing other people's brands. Now, everybody and his mother failed seller, mostly failed sellers, like 90% of the, and I'm pulling that out of the air, but I figure about 90% of the Amazon consultants are failed Amazon sellers, right? So we were, and I say we because I always talk about my company as a we, but we were out there in the early stages looking at brands, trying to develop brands, and that would just be managing the overall brand. Well, what could you do next? Well, the next thing that you needed is you had to become an authority. Anything in e-com, authority equals trust equals sales, right?
Yeah.
So I met this guy named Rob Burns, and I started using press releases. And these press releases really worked with the company. So content worked, building up. So when somebody looked at you in Google, they knew that you were real. So I ended up buying a company from Rob called PR Reach and started to break it into more of a communications company. So you could get public relations, press releases, content, which led into another company called Honu Worldwide. And Honu provides the service side of sourcing, logistics, supply chain management, and warehousing. So we've just, we opened up a warehouse this year. We're breaking ground for a new warehouse next year, all for the e-com business. So these are the types of businesses that help. Now, the other side to the vertical integration is mentoring. So we have a mentoring program called Private Label Legion. And we have some courses and stuff like that I don't need to get into. But all of this put together is vertical integration. So it allows me to take a company, even develop their brand, their website, manage their Amazon, manage off Amazon, provide SOPs, give them everything they need. And that is what I mean. And then on the perceived value side of things, it's how can you take the average product that's selling on Amazon or in retail and get 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the profit based on perceived value. And it could be minor changes, you know, and this comes, I think, Kathi, you know, we talk, and you've been on my podcast before, but we talk about organization and that mindset. And that's the same thing with perceived value. If you have that mindset and just sort of, you know, that laid out, organized thought process, this isn't a one-time home run. You can continue to increase your profits on an ongoing basis just by doing some simple steps.
Yeah, I love that. It's always the simple, small things that make really significant shifts. I say
Right.
that all the time, you know, the smallest insignificant thing has ripple effects into greater and greater profits and profitability, for sure. So what did it feel like when you landed your first client, when you made that pivot over and started becoming the Amazon expert?
It was interesting because I was at a conference and I overheard somebody, and you've got to, okay, so I was at a conference and I was there with a group of people that I already knew. So these people I met at an earlier Amazon conference, and they were saying, you know, how they were, what they were doing. And the most anybody was selling was $5,000 a month, which I thought was crazy. All right, I've known these people forever, or well, at least for a year and a half, and they were selling $5,000 a month. Like, what was going on? I know other people that were selling way more in a very short period of time. And anyways, they were all huddled around, and they were listening to another guy say, look, if you're a failed Amazon seller, why don't you buy a course on consulting? And so this is where this first person I picked up as a client. So they had all signed up for this now. These failed Amazon sellers had all picked up. They were talking to this other guy. He was from Ireland, and he was a doctor. And I overheard him say something along the lines of, if I could only beat the S&P. And I said, well, then he said, yeah, I'm a deer in the headlights. I don't understand this other stuff. I don't understand the advertising. Anyways, I'm hearing this. I went over to him and I just said, I can do that. And I hadn't been on Amazon very long. I hadn't proven myself, but I knew from everything I was doing in my past e-commerce experience, I could do it. So we got together. I told him a price. He set me a price. He didn't know the product I was sourcing. He didn't know the packaging. He didn't know the category. I did it on my own. I gave him like 3 or 4 options. He ended up picking it. We put it up. And then we brought in another product in the supplement side. And anyways, that's how it all started. And the answer to your question, very long-winded, was it felt fantastic.
And that goes back to the thing of, say you can do it. And then if you say you can do it, you generally can figure out the way to do it. So, and obviously you've done it very successfully. If you had to give a hack to an entrepreneur who really wants to launch, what's your favorite hack for making progress with your goals? Basically, you know, you really want to get out there. If you have a hack that you use personally when you're first launching something, what is it?
Well, I don't know if this is much of a hack, but this is something that I do all the time on a daily basis. And I think this gives me a lot more time during the day. And this is night before. Usually I turn off everything. Like, I'm not one of these 4-hour-a-day people, but my computer goes off usually around, it's kind of late, around 9-ish, maybe 10-ish. But before I turn off my computer, I spend 20 minutes on my next day's work. So I create a list, I put it into my calendar. I have and some people reverse this. I like doing this, but I go in and I have somebody check my inbox for me. So I don't have to do it. Yeah. Anything that's urgent, I need to see. Everything that's not urgent, I'll see it later on. But priority 1 task. What do I have to complete first so I can get the stress off my back? I turn off 100% of all communications except 1 urgent email. If there's an urgent email, it goes to a separate email account where somebody like one of my team can get a hold of me and say, this is urgent, stop what you're doing. Other than that, all communication channels are shut off until I'm done. They come back on when I have either my B task or C tasks, check emails. And I like doing C tasks before B tasks because I can get 100 done in 30 minutes. Yeah. And that takes those out of you might have to define them as B tasks, but there's a lot of B tasks that are kind of BC-ish. And we also make sure that anything that's urgent, we see. Anything that's urgent and important, I see. Anything that's important, wait till I'm free. You know, and then if it's just the general, then it can just go. And we have a color coding system. So if I see red exclamation mark when I come back online and I haven't been told, I know that that's urgent, important. If it's a red star, it's, yeah, you better look at it. Yellow is general, green is a receipt that just came in. I don't get to see them, but we put it onto a spreadsheet that I see receipts or payments that have gone out. And then I have a list of spam, just I look over very quickly that I look. I don't do it. It's my assistant that helps put all my spam or my junk mail, just so I can go down just to make sure that we didn't eliminate anything. And we also filter a lot. So yeah, that's one hack. There's too many shiny objects, too many distractions during the day. Yeah. You have to understand that if you're working on a project and somebody interrupts you on Skype, I look over here, Skype. Okay. That's going to take me 5 to 10 minutes to get back into that train of thought. If somebody hits me up on Slack, or all I've done, and this is a really cool hack, get get a app called Rambox or Meet Franz, and put all of your communication in there. And then that way you can turn all the apps off on your computer. And you can just look over, like I look over there, that's my other computer, there's my Rambox. I can see all the messages. Right now, I have 4 messages that have come in, 5 social media messages, 3 that are on Slack, and something from my assistant. So, but I'm not looking at it. I just minimize it, and they go ahead and take care of all that. That channels everything into one line of communication. Another thing that I could probably say is, if you have a problem, and this is a mental hack. No matter what the problem is, we've had some serious problems this last month that I've had to go through, but I would have been sick. I would have been physically ill 30 years ago. You know, I wouldn't have been able to sleep. I wouldn't be able to. Now it bounces off my shoulders. You know, I go, I eat bonbons, I have a drink, and, you know, I go to bed. And what I've learned, and somebody told me this early on, is that it'll never, ever be as bad as what you think. Ever.
Yes, that is a truthism for sure. Yeah. We always fear the worst. And you know, I guess it's defense mechanism or whatever. I love the fact that you organize before you turn off your computer. You do your top 4 to 5 tasks, and then the delegation part is so critical. To delegate what you don't need to see, have other people figure out what you do need to see. That's huge. You have so many systems in place. It's quite. I very much appreciate all that, Norm. Of course, being an organizer, I'm like, you got it.
Thanks. I even have I have people watch training for me, so I don't have time. And you know this. You've gone to the same conferences. You sit there and you've got these great speakers, and it's all fluff, except for midway through to get you hooked, and at the last 5 minutes, and then there's the pitch for the course. You know, so I don't want to listen to the fluff. So I will get somebody to watch it, pay them for it, of course. They summarize it. And if anything can be implemented into the company, we have a Friday, 5 strengths, 5 weaknesses. We train 1 hour a day, whatever you're in. And then there's, what suggestions do you have that we can improve the company? This is handed in every Friday. I can look over it, and then we can implement.
That's fantastic. So what's one lesson that your business has taught you over the years that you wish you would have known in the beginning of it all?
One lesson, you know, say hi to Rob for me.
Slamming over there.
So one lesson is resilience. So resilience is very important, because a lot of entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs especially, cut out too early. So they're almost there. Their risk tolerance hasn't built up. Their stress tolerance hasn't built up. They think that the sky is falling just as everything's turning around.
Yeah.
Probably even more important. I mean, resilience is very important, but cash flow. If you're playing with capital you don't have, so this is money you can't afford. If you're borrowing from your house or your 401k in Canada, your RSP, if you're doing that, that's scared money. And you cannot do that. Start off small, make sure that you get proper capitalization. Personally, friends and family, that's easy, but that's a recipe for disaster. It can be. You know, a lot of times that doesn't work out. Credit cards is fairly high debt, you know, so you just have to find, there's lots of ways to get money. And in Canada, I'm in Canada right now. I mean, there were government programs that helped with, there was a government program last year that allowed you to have a $60,000 loan, but only $40,000 was repayable. So you $20,000 free. Yeah. So hey, that's great. I took advantage of it. Economic development boards in different cities might have something like that you can take advantage of. or be able to go in very inexpensive, rent an office. I mean, just don't go and buy every app that's $12.99 to $49.99. You'll end up that you'll be at $3,000 a month at no time, and you'll never use these apps. Just start off, like, be tight with your money, and make sure that if you do have a home run, I see this happen a ton. Well, let's say a third base hit to a home run. So you've got a winner, but you can't capitalize the winner. It's taking up all your inventory, or people decide, oh, I'm going to be smart and I'm going to order 6 months of inventory in advance. Well, you just messed yourself up, because you could take your cash flow and do it in, 1 month increments, smaller chunks of cash, and increase the inventory as they come, as your sales increase. But cash flow is so bloody important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really good advice. And there have been so many grants and opportunities out there, especially for women entrepreneurs. I know I took advantage of a lot of them during COVID, and there's still more to come. And, take advantage of the government programs and SCORE. If you want some free advice, go to SCORE too, which is here in the United States. So it's senior executives giving advice. So there's all sorts of programs out there for people. And I think that's fantastic advice. Don't mortgage your house, gang. Figure out a way that you can, and if you mortgage your house, you don't end up doing it small. You end up just going, wow, so start small and just do incremental income into your business. That's really good advice. So tell me, Norm, at one point you might have, we all go through it, at one point in your life, think about the deep, dark time when you felt like you were just like slammed and overwhelmed and tired and just burnt out. What did you do to get your mojo back? What was your tactic?
Well, and it's not just me, but if I see employees like this or contractors, literally, this is back in days of paper. I don't know if you remember paper, but that's what we write on. But I remember an assistant that was working with me, and she was overwhelmed. She was completely overwhelmed. And this is exactly what I do on my desk as well. I would have piles of paper. And we just had fun with this. I would go over and I would take it and I would just, and then we would start to reorganize. And I would block the time so I could be in an there's nothing I can think of, for the most part, that will destroy you if you don't get to it immediately. I mean, there might be some, but most likely not. I would rather take a breath. If you have to walk away, come back, throw it, and literally, that's what I did. Whoosh, and it would be all over the ground. I am not kidding. And I did that to her desk as well. And like, the tears, and she's gonna walk out. But when she realized what I was doing, and I did it for myself, she's seen it, I would pick it up and which A, B, or C, B, or C. And then all of a sudden clarity would come. And that would be if I was completely stressed. If I was in a dark place, I mean, really something happened, maybe you have to close the business, everybody has failures, that's a different story. That's a mindset. That's you sometimes you have to take a week, a month. Don't rush yourself and just get back into something because your mind's not clear. Look, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I've done. I know I took a year off. Like I got screwed over so bad once that my trust had been eliminated. If your trust isn't there, how are you going to do business? So you have to make sure that your mindset's there. And everybody talks about mindset, nowadays, and a lot of it is fluff, but there's a lot of good quality mindset. And I believe, and we're talking today, mindset, it's like my mom said, if you're depressed, make your bed, start there. Yeah. And that's a starting point. Well, I do that in business. Start making your bed, start getting the files organized, start with SOPs. Okay. And I know that organization has saved my butt. So I got into a rut, everybody does once in a while. And it was a longer rut. I lost a big client and I was trying to see how I can make the business survive. And because I had the SOPs to keep everybody in place, we had SOPs in the office to how to make a cup of coffee, 5-page SOP. And and anyways, I was able to take the time off. I wasn't bothered. I had a working staff that worked 4 days a week. Our goal, our system was, we wanted you to work 4 days a week, I'll pay you for 40. And we had cover off. So if somebody was a project manager, they covered off the other project manager when they took 4 days off, the other project manager would cover them. So we had enough staff in place that would do that. And anyways, the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, which are not a standard operating procedure, it's a predefined buy-in for the corporate culture. So why is this important? The definitions of words that people go like this for, that they have no clue what they mean. Prerequisites of what you have to know, or the SOPs you have to know, the screenshots and all the SOP, the reporting, the quantifications, and the templates. Where are they all stored? And everything was there. Everything was there. So that was something that started in 1995 from a book I read from Michael Gerber called The E-Myth Revisited, or the E-Myth at the time. Now it's called The E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people call on Michael Gerber for his advice. I actually helped organize his office.
What?
So, yeah.
Really?
Yep. So I love talking to you because you talk organization, you got the organization down, and we talk the same talk. So it's always fun to hear what you're doing. And we all lose our mojo at one point in life, and I think that space creates clarity. And if you're feeling like I have no idea, add some space to your life and clear off your desk, like Norm says, and that will definitely do the trick. If nothing else, you'll be able to sleep better and then wake up feeling more refreshed and more clear. So this leads me into another question. What's the best piece? I mean, you've given so much advice out here for people who are in business. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received from a mentor or from someone that you respect, or even from your mama?
Yeah, well, Mama was the making the bed,
Yeah,
but probably a very successful businessman that I talked to. This is way back, maybe even in the late 80s. He was the one, well, he rephrased it. He said, the sun is always going to rise from the east and set in the west. There's nothing you can do to change it. And which kind of led to, the stress. I as a young entrepreneur, I remember losing like 10 grand and having a panic attack. I remember losing $40,000. I remember losing in one day $285,000. I mean, there's so many times that you have these, what am I going to do? How am I going to make payroll?
yeah.
And it always ends up working out. Even if it doesn't work out exactly the way, guess what? Another door will always open. And at the end of it, and I see this all the time, people think they're at the end of their line, end of their rope, because they think life has ended that business. Well, you know what? It's a learning experience. Take what you learned from it, move on.
Yeah.
Move on.
And it's never as bad as what you think it is, or it never will get as bad as you visualize it is going to get.
Yeah. It's interesting because you've got in the work environment, I'm very involved with, and I think you know this, but I'm involved. I've been involved with this empowering, like the first Amazon group. This is really bizarre. There were very few Amazon female entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It was always a male-dominated stage. Still is. So anyways, Melissa Simonson I think you know Melissa. She's one of our friends, Elena Cyrus. She knows Melissa quite well. Anyway, she came up with the first event, and this goes back just a couple of weeks before we were all shut down. It was very successful. And I remember, and the reason I'm saying this is women have a whole other set of problems that men don't, especially old men with beards. But I remember people saying, like, why are you going? It's for women. I said, no, it's not. Did you see the lineup? Like, these are very successful women entrepreneurs, you know? And it was one of the best conferences that I ever went to, learned a ton. Now there are more, there's been 3 or 4 virtual events, but there are things I can't tell you because I'm not in your shoes, right? But some of the same principles apply, like the stress side. I can see, you know, if you've got all these pressures coming in from 10 different areas, all right, what do you do with that? You know, how do you deal with that stress? And the only, like, this comes back to that quote, you know, and the organization part is that, you know, it'll never be as bad. You know, you got to kind of keep that in mind. And also the capitalization part. You know, one thing I've noticed, we weren't going to go down this route. We never talked about this, but I've noticed that a lot of e-commerce female entrepreneurs don't say that they're entrepreneurs.
Really? Really? What do they say they are?
They're sellers. But if I go up to a successful female entrepreneur, and they will, a lot of really successful ones will say, you know, absolutely, I'm a serial entrepreneur, but it takes a lot of successful Amazon sellers to realize that they are an entrepreneur. And I don't know if you've noticed that, but even at that conference, I met probably 50 women talking about their e-commerce experience. And one thing that came up, and they talked about it like during the conference, you ask who's an entrepreneur in the audience? 2%, 3%. Wow. And that, if you go and do that in a male audience,
they're like,
puts up their hands, both hands, you know. But that's an interesting thing. So there are some different complexities here that people don't realize between the two.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I can think back on conferences that I've been out with women, with coaches, with other organizers, or, you know, whatever. Oftentimes I think, you know, I'm a life coach. Well, but they don't claim the entrepreneurship, which I think is where the systems fail, or where the systems are never built to actually be an entrepreneurial business, right? It's like, I'm a coach, I'm not really a business person. So and I think that a lot of the people that will listen to this podcast, you know, think about that yourself. Do you consider, you know, I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. So no matter what it is that my hat that I'm wearing, I'm still an entrepreneur. And I think if you do, you know, the women that do embrace the entrepreneurial part of it, then start thinking like a business person and start building the infrastructure behind the business, as opposed to just being the coach or whatever it is. Nothing wrong with being a coach, by the way. It's just the mindset. I think you're totally right, Norman, as far as, you know, which comes first and which are you really? And you have to be both.
Right. There's have you heard of a lady by the name of Andrea Lake?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you've got.
Yeah, you too. Obviously,
I've got to introduce you. But anyways, she is this absolutely serial. We're saying that too many times, but she's a crazy entrepreneur. And between her and her partners, she sold about $1 billion worth of T-shirts. She's been on The Apprentice, I think season 5. Anyway, she's an incredible lady. And anyways, she has this organization called Power Chick Mafia. And
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So they have 2 sections of it. I hope, if Andrea, if you're listening, I hope I'm explaining this right. But the first section is everybody can go to it. You're an entrepreneur, come in and listen. Then at the 10 million and above level, they have this event where anybody with a beard, get out. And it's just people, women that are successful entrepreneurs over $10 million, and whatever they discuss, it's the secret society I'm not allowed into. But anyways, she is fantastic. She's a mentor. She's, she's just an incredible entrepreneur. So I will introduce you.
Yeah, I need to have her on the podcast. So I'll definitely do that. That's prime time. Okay, so I know that you have a valuable free resource or something that you could offer other people, the listeners on this podcast. What is it that you want to give them, Norm?
Okay, well, we have the Lunch with Norm podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that's that's basically Amazon and e-commerce. It's an Amazon e-commerce podcast that helps people out. It's all free. In fact, if any of your listeners are listening and they want to get more information, I can provide them in our group a free month or two in Private Label Legion, if you like. And that's $199 a month that I could just provide if you like.
Oh, that's very generous. Yeah, we'll put the link down below the podcast when it comes out. And if you guys are looking to go vertical and scale, Norm is definitely the guy for that. So join his league and learn what you can learn, and then continue forward. You can't go wrong with that. So thanks.
We won't sell you anything. This is not a hit you with something and sell you something. It's not like that. This is just go out there to learn, become a better online seller.
Yeah, and I will vouch for Norm. He is a true blue, honest type of guy. Even with the beard, I think the beard actually makes you a little bit more trustworthy.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sketchy, but thank you.
I don't know. I think, it's all about the beard, really. And yours is a trustworthy beard.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you being on the show, and check out, the resources below. And I just, I always love talking to you, Norm. So thank you for your time.
You too, Kathi. Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Hey, thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you want to hear more, feel free to subscribe on the platform of your choice. Also, if you feel so inclined, I would truly appreciate a good rating from you to me. Have a stellar day.